Hi friends, and welcome to the Journey Recap. My name is Luanne Hunter. I'm one of the pastors here at Deer Lake, and I'm so glad that you are joining us for this year's Journey Through the Bible reading as we go through the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and together discover who is Jesus, what did Jesus do, and what did Jesus say. In this week's reading, we're covering Matthew chapters 1 through 3. In this book of Matthew, it's written for its namesake. Matthew was a former tax collector. He was a Levite and someone that Jesus called to be one of his 12 disciples. He was someone who knew Jesus intimately, someone who had been there, seen the things that Jesus did, and heard the things that Jesus taught. And Matthew, he wants to share this Messiah, this Savior of the world with us. He wants us to know him as intimately as he knew him. And so as he opens up the book of Matthew, he begins with this genealogical record, this lineage of Jesus. And for many of us, we want to kind of skip past this part because it just seems boring, to be honest. But there's several things that I think really stand out in these 17 verses that I think are noteworthy, things that are really different, that really set it apart and make us to stop and take note. The first is, in this lineage of Jesus are listed 5 different women. And in today's society, that doesn't seem like a big deal because we think, of course, we want to list our mom and our grandma as part of our heritage. But in those days, it just wasn't done. And the fact that they're listed, it really makes it stand out. And I think what Matthew wants us to see about the Messiah, about Jesus, is that he is a Savior for all people, for both men and women. Also, within those 5 women listed, 3 of those are also Gentiles. What I mean by that is they're not of Jewish heritage. And this lets me know that the good news of the gospel, that the Messiah and the message of the Messiah, it's not just for one particular race or nation or culture, but the good news of the gospel is for all people, for all nations. And then lastly, within this lineage are listed a whole bunch of imperfect people. And, you know, if you're thinking about when you're sharing with a friend your heritage, you want to list the people that have done something noteworthy, the ones who have done good things, or the ones that you can look up to. But instead, for some reason, Matthew lists out these people that are really broken, an adulterer, someone who had murdered someone, a former prostitute, a liar, and a cheat. I think what Matthew wants us to see about the Messiah and the good news is that it is for all people, for those who are broken, those who have messed up, who have made a mess of their life. And the good news is for the people who are in need of a Savior. And right off the bat, one of the things that stood out to me in these first 3 chapters in the book of Matthew is all the Old Testament prophecies that he lists. He lets us know that Jesus is the fulfillment of these prophecies, that the Savior that Old Testament prophets have been longing for is found in Jesus. We read in Matthew 1:23, it says, "The virgin will be with child and will give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel," which means God with us. This was spoken by the prophet Isaiah nearly 700 years earlier. Matthew wants us to know that Jesus is the fulfillment of this prophecy. That he is a God that isn't some distant God, but a God who is with us, who is for us, who is aware of the things that we are going through in this life, and who cares for us. Another prophet that he lists comes from Micah. And we find in Matthew 2, verse 6, he quotes Micah saying, "But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people, Israel." And this is good news for us today as we turn on the news and there's so many leaders and politicians who don't seem to be about anyone but themselves. And Matthew wants us to know that the Messiah would be a leader and a shepherd of the people, meaning he didn't just rule over the people, but he would be someone who would care for the flock, someone who would look after, guide, and direct, and protect them and make sure that they were well cared for. And in these first 3 chapters of Matthew, we hear about Jesus's birth. We hear about his early years, as well as the beginning of his ministry, which was marked by his baptism. And there's so much we can find out about Jesus in these first 3 chapters, but I want to highlight a few of the things that really stood out to me about Jesus. He is the Son of God and Son of Man. Old Testament prophets longed for him. Angels announced him. Stars identified him. Magi worshiped him. God approved him. The Spirit confirmed him. Born King of the Jews, Shepherd of his people, Savior, Messiah, God with us. Wow, there is so much in these first 3 chapters, and I know that you probably got so much more as well. I look forward to our time together next week as we look at the Sermon on the Mount. I hope you have a great week and enjoy your time in the Word. See you next time.